Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're working on Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Now I'm doing this with pastel pencils. I'm using the Caran pastel pencils, and there's a lot of warm colors in this drawing because Scorpion is all about the fire and the heat. So I'm using a lot of yellows, reddish browns, some browns, oranges, reds, and a combination of orange-red and orange-red color. So here we are working on the mask. We're getting all the details in. When I first started drawing, I like to block in the major parts of the drawing. It's basically, I work a little bit loose in the beginning, and then once I establish the colors that I want to use, and when I get my proportions correct, then I'll start adding finer details on top of it. Like on the sword right there, you can see I just blocked in the whole area with black. And then I'm going to go back over it and start adding details. So I do prefer pastel pencils over colored pencils. I know a lot of artists like colored pencils, and that's all they've used for years. But you should really try the pastel pencils because they're much easier to blend. You can get the same amount of detail. Basically, they can do everything that colored pencils can do, but they're much easier on the wrist because colored pencils are wax based, so there's a lot more work involved when you need to blend those colors. With pastel pencils, when I lay the colors, you can see I'm using my blending stump. I can just blend everything right in with ease, and it's a lot easier on the wrist too. Well, as you get older, eventually your hands will start wearing down from the constant strain and pressure that you use with the pencils. So here I am working on this pauldron, adding all those little fine details. Did you see how I blocked in all the big parts first, the black and stuff, and then I'm doing the details on top of it. So I just do section at a time. Some people like to block in the whole artwork first, but me personally, I like to focus on one area at a time. For me, it's just easier to focus. Do you see how we started off working on the head, and then we're slowly working our way down? I started off at the head, and then I went to the shoulder, and I'm slowly working down his right arm. Well, from our perspective, it's the left arm. And I do keep that paper there that I rest my hand on, because if I don't, there is a possibility that I might smudge the pastels. But the paper I use, it's really nice because it has a tooth to it, a fine tooth. So when you're putting those pastels on there, this tooth and texture that this paper has, it's called Pastelmat, it really grabs the pigment, and it can really hold that pastel firm and tightly into the paper. You know, it's got a tooth, so it creates more valleys and pores in the paper, and that's what gets filled up with those beautiful colors, those nice lush colors from those pencils. So there I went working on his hand, and I'm going from his hand to his spear, and his spear is on fire, so I'm adding a lot of reds to it, a lot of reds and a lot of yellows. And then when you're doing the base of the fire, when you're doing the tips of the fire, it has to be soft and blend out into the background. You see how above it's soft, but towards the blade where the handle is, it's a lot more finer details. It's a lot more sharper. So make sure you're working kind of loose when you work on the fire. You don't want to make it looking too sharp, because it's supposed to just flow evenly. Everything has to be in proportion. So I did add a little debris. You can see those pieces of debris around his clothing and where the fire burns at the tip. Now I'm going to add all these blacks around his body, working on his chest armor, adding a little bit more debris, some smoke from the fire. Now this is interesting. On the smoke on this part, I didn't want just gray smoke because it's too dull, so I added more of a reddish purplish hue to it, because it just makes it look much more interesting. It's basically more eye candy for the viewer's perspective. So here we are working on the belt, doing little fine details. As you can see, it's kind of sticking out through all the smoke. And if you want to see this entire tutorial, it is available on my Patreon channel. This is sort of a quick tutorial, but the actual full-length tutorial is about 3 or 4 hours long, and it's split into 3 videos, and that's when I go into great detail, and I teach you how I achieve all the details and all the effects and the colors that I use. And it's, of course, more in depth. So I have several students, and I'm always posting new videos. I post maybe 2 to 3 new videos a month on new techniques and how to draw your favorite characters. Now what I like to do is to show you my techniques so you can take those techniques and draw the characters that you like. At least you'll have a better arsenal, more weapons to use, because you can always learn more. Me, as an artist, I've been drawing many years, and I'm still learning new techniques. And when I learn these new techniques, I teach them to my students as soon as I learn them. So we're getting back into Scorpion, working on more of his armor plates and all the little details. And I just blocked in the whole part, and now I'm adding fine details, adding a few little highlights on him because we don't want his hand getting blended into the background. So we add a few little highlights around the silhouette of his hand. So there is a lot of fire coming off into the background, but I'm not going to make it too dense. I want to keep it kind of soft because Scorpion is our subject. We want everyone to focus on your actual subject more than the background. So I'm keeping this background kind of simple. I'm keeping it soft. I don't want to distract the viewer too much. So I'm trying not to add too much detail. So I'm just working back on the fire, adding the little small details here and there to make it look real, make it flow. A little bit of black in between the flames because we do want some of that background showing. And here's the chain going behind him, and I did put the chain, add a little flames to it because we know the character that Scorpion's spear has fire on it, and the chain sometimes does as well. So we're adding a little bit more blacks going around that chain, adding more detail, and we're going to block in this area before we start getting into each of the chain links, the detail on those. So we're adding a little bit more fire on the sword, a little bit more in the background, and pretty soon we're softening up that fire because it was a little bit too harsh, but now we're going to soften it up because we really want Scorpion to pop out of this background. So I'm getting close to finishing this. A little bit more flames behind his head. And do you see that white area I put around his balaclava or his hood? That's to make sure he sticks out in front of this fire. We want that to really show. And I'm adding a little bit of heat to these chains. Now we're getting on to filling in all these little links. Taking our time. Remember, don't rush your artwork. It will get finished. Take your time because you'll have a much better quality drawing when you're not rushing it. So doing each little link one at a time. And we're making that chain pop out from the background by adding those little orange-yellow highlights around the silhouette of the chain. Do you see how it's popping out of the background? So we are getting close to finishing this, and I'll show you the finished piece right after we finish this chain. I'll do a little panning for you. But I want to thank you again for watching another one of my tutorials, and I do look forward to seeing you on my Patreon channel. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like the video, and set your notifications to be notified when I post my new drawings. And thanks again for checking out this tutorial.